when I found your course, I thought it was actually a land wholesaling course. When I first joined, I remember my first message, I think, in the group was, "Are you guys wholesaling?" And then someone was like, "Dude, who are you? Like, what?"
You got to be willing to make mistakes. You got to be okay with, like, if you have a $100,000 profit deal, something bad's going to happen the next day. So not getting too high about the highs, not getting too low about the lows.
There is always going to be noise within an industry. There's going to be noise towards this market or that market. And if you play your game correctly, you're going to continue to grow.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. Pumped, really pumped. This has been long scheduled, I feel like, Aaron. Happy to have Aaron Waxman, one of our students on the show today. He hit the ground running. Like, I could go back in my Discord messages, Aaron, like, you hit the ground running in this business. Pumped to hear your story, everything like that. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Let's just back up to, first of all, when did you actually, let's back up before. Like, what were you doing before you got into land investing? What drove you to this business? And then we'll get into the story of how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So I started off, probably when I was 20. I left college and I decided that I wanted to, start my own business. My family had a really big business and I didn't want to, there was really no room for me. And I was like, I want to make my own mark. And, at the time, TikTok had been huge with all these trends, drop shipping, wholesaling, the classic story. And I decided to choose wholesaling. And I had a wholesaling business for about 2.5 years that did, I would say, pretty solid. I was happy with it, but it wasn't really, I didn't love the white lies that you have to deal with wholesaling. You're the end buyer, and I really wanted to own the asset. And I wanted to grow within the actual business, and so some period later, I would say maybe 1.5 to 2 years ago, I started researching into the land stuff, found out about you guys, and I started, I think, probably around December 23.
Yep. So you said when you were 20 years old. So how long ago was that? How old are you now?
I just turned 25, like a couple weeks
so that was when you went into wholesaling. So you dropped out of college. Talk about that.
So I was in college, and in my family, if you don't finish college, it's a big deal, as it is in many other families. But I didn't see the purpose. I didn't see the path forward for myself. I knew I wasn't going to go corporate, and although I always had the mindset I was going to be successful at whatever I went into, but I didn't see the path. I was in school in New York, all the classes, they didn't speak to me. So when COVID hit, it was the perfect time, and I went to my dad and I said, "Dad, give me 6 months. If I can't make something of myself, I'll go back to school." And he said, "Deal." So that's when I started wholesaling, and wholesaling, it did well. I think wholesaling is very good. I think it's the low entry is very good for somebody in real estate. There's really no risk. So that's how I started. And from there, things started to grow. I was doing it in the Cleveland market, and I would say I did pretty well for somebody who knew nothing. I was always seeking out people who were smarter than me and seeing how I could provide value. And from there, I just grew my network.
Mm-hmm. I'm always impressed by people who, especially as young as you were, people who make a move from wholesaling to land, and you were successful in wholesaling. A lot of people leave when they're unsuccessful, and then they try to find the next shiny object. You were successful in wholesaling and still like, okay, this isn't for me. Was it, you said it felt a little shady. Was it the business model? Was it like opportunity you saw in land? Talk about just that mindset behind leaving something that was working.
Well, the main thing I would say, that the moral compass of it, I didn't like the fact that you have to, or you don't necessarily have to. I know that there were regulations coming out for wholesaling. I had dealt with a lot of sellers who had dealt with really not moral wholesalers who have been under contract for like 90 days and nothing ended up happening. And for me, I didn't want to be a part of something like that. I wanted to also grow within the business. If someone told me, first of all, that I would be wholesaling and then being in land, I would have told them you're crazy. And then when I found your course, I thought it was actually a land wholesaling course. When I first joined, I remember my first message, I think, in the group was, "Are you guys wholesaling?" And then someone was like, "Dude, who are you? Like, what?" I was like, "Oh crap! I actually I made a mistake." But yeah, I wanted to own the asset, and obviously this I have the same mindset now. I want to grow the land business to a certain uh, amount of money per year, and automate and delegate myself out of it, and go from land to maybe shovel ready. I haven't really decided yet. I've started working on some entitlement stuff as well, and that's been new, so that's exciting as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. You've only been doing this whatever 18 months. I remember like you're
Yeah,
still very active. But I remember like when you first started, like just question, and just it expedites your learning. Like just being willing to not know stuff because that's where you were at
yeah,
the point. Like you came in like I'm a blank slate. Teach me, and that's
yeah.
how you kind of approached it. Is that kind of always been your mentality? Just like like you are a lot of questions. Like I can go
Yeah,
back
of
and search
course.
Aaron Waxman, but it's amazing because so many people are like I don't know, just scared to ask things and scared to not know, opposed to like, I don't know this right now. I'm gonna know it after someone teaches me, after I talk to
Yeah.
a few people. Is that always been kind of your personality?
Absolutely. I'm the youngest of six, and all of my brothers have different.
That makes sense,
All of my
actually.
brothers have different businesses, and I'm always, I'm always bothering them. I'm always, like I said, seeking out people who know more than me. And my whole life, it's been like that. I'm the youngest, and my dad and my grandfather, and they would always say, "Ask questions." And even when I would ask the most annoying questions, I'd hear that voice in the back of my head, "Continue asking." And I would always seek to provide value as well, because I think a lot of people will, for example, message you, and people will message people that have knowledge that they're looking to have, and they will just, without any sort of human touch, just say, "Hey, can you tell me about this, this, and this?" And you're just like, "Whoa, who are you? What's going on here?" So I mean, a big reason that I was successful was the person who I reached out to firstly, and I said, I didn't even ask for anything. I just said, "I just want to thank you for all the help that you've given to people, and I hope you have a happy holidays." And then from
Hmm.
there, we started working together.
Relationships in this business and like just with like the landscape we are just in society, I think like being able to build relationships, because that's what you got to do a lot of times. It's building relationships online. The amount of people that I feel like I know like their next door neighbors that I've never met in my life is incredible. Just because like being willing to talk to people online, whether it's via chat, video, whatever it is, and you have the capability. You obviously are really good at that in terms of building relationships, and having people like that and reaching out. And like you said, value first is huge. Let's talk about those first. We always talk about like first 6 months in land. You started late 2023 to give everybody perspective. Let's
Yeah.
just talk about like what was your mindset when you first got into the course, as far as learning, taking action, sending some whatever your marketing is. Let's get into that first 6 months.
Sure. So I looked at it very similar to wholesaling, but I wanted to take it to the next level. I think people don't understand. I think the main thing people need to understand when joining this business is that this is not a get rich quick scheme. This is not something that's going to be quick. The cash conversion cycle in the land business is like 4, 5 months. And if you need to be continuously marketing correctly to people who own land that you want to buy, um, while those things are in transit. For example, when I started, I made a decision that I'm going to send 5,000 pieces of mail for the next, I believe, 4, 5, 6 months, without the without the focus on getting, I can't. The only thing I can control is the offers that I send and the consistency of it. And I think people are they have analysis paralysis. I think, yeah, you need the knowledge, but at the same time you need double the amount of courage for action as well, because
Mhm.
most people are just, "Oh, can you tell me about this? Oh, like, what are your thoughts on, you know, X, Y, and Z?" And you're just like, "Go do it." The best way you can learn from it is actually going after it. So for me, I got my first, I think I got my first two deals under contract in the first month, which is very rare. Um, and I believe the first one closed via double close in March, like right, I think the day of my birthday or something, like March 28th. I think I made, it was a really good deal, and the seller was really happy. And that was till this day my only double close, because I don't love double closing because of the white lies, but sometimes you need to do it.
Mhm. So and that was all direct mail to start. Is that correct, or did I miss here? Okay, all direct mail. So you sent mail early January. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Early January and closed on the double close somewhere in March. It sounds like. So, I mean, yeah, that's a quick cycle. Those 90 days, especially with direct mail, because there's obviously a delay.
Yeah.
Was that always, you obviously did a lot of research. Was that always your mindset going to direct mail first? I know you're doing some other marketing now, but was direct mail, even though it's a little more costly, you thought it was the best approach?
Yeah, I think if you're properly sending someone a good offer, a well thought out offer versus just a low ball, they are going to consider it, and the people that respond to you are going to be motivated. Versus a cold outreach lead, those people don't know who you are. They haven't been thinking about selling. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. Those require a lot more touches and love and rapport versus and I had previously had a lot of experience with that with wholesaling. So I knew that I wanted to get straight to the source of who's motivated versus who's not. And I think having direct mail does that really well.
That's a good point. And yeah, it definitely works. Knowing the way to do it, and just like you said, not lowballing, pricing well if that's what you're doing, is very important. Did you need? We talked about the transition from wholesaling. Did you need proof of concept? Like, was this a proof of concept moment, getting those first few deals, or was it like you believed in this and like you were going for it all the way? Did you need that proof of concept?
I needed the proof of concept, but I believed in it. When I started, I was getting married, or I was getting engaged within the next couple of months, and there was no for me, my mindset was I am not going back to wholesaling, and there's no way I'm gonna go work for somebody. So I'm gonna go all into this, and thank God I was blessed with success pretty quickly, which is pretty lucky.
I don't know if blessed. Hard work created the success that you've had for sure. But yeah, it's a lot of people look for getting married, having a kid, all the like life circumstances as a way to delay taking action. And you looked at the complete opposite, almost like a challenge. Like, I'm getting married. There's no way there's no way I'm going to the job. Like, what it was, talk about that a little bit, because so many people look for external reasons to not do something. And you had one. Like, you could say, yeah, I got to spend money on a wedding. I got to do this. I got to get ready. I'm going to be a newlywed. But you did the exact opposite. Talk about that.
It just wasn't an option. There was just no, like, my brothers, my sisters, our whole family were very competitive. I want to, I'm very lucky to have learned from them and learned from my dad and others as well. And something my grandfather told me was, if you're going to do something, be the best at it. And for me, my thought process is I don't really compare myself to other people. It's what's the quote? It's the death of joy or something, something like that. But the main thing for me is I'll take the best version of me against, somebody else necessarily any day. So I'm always comparing myself to last week and the week before that, and how can I adjust? How can I add a little bit more? I think Atomic Habits is a really good book for somebody who's looking to improve the way that they go about life, and that's helped me a great deal, I would say, as well.
You have a good combination of, like, the competitiveness is huge, and I'm very competitive as well. But you're also very humble in terms of taking advice from people that like are a couple of steps ahead of you. Where in some people's minds, like, they're not unable to take advice from those people because they just want to pass them. Where you're in the same position, like, help me out, and then I'll pass. I don't know what your mindset behind it, like, help me out, then I'll pass you. But you have a really, really impressive balance of, like, being really humble in terms of knowing, like, you can learn from people, and also the competitiveness, like, I want to get here as fast as possible.
Right.
Is that?
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, well, I don't look at it like I'm competing against others. I'm competing against myself, I would say.
Okay.
And I think having an abundance mindset is really important. I think that there's clearly enough money to go around within every industry. And especially if you are applying yourself, you can, there's not going to be an issue. And I think for me, I'm not comparing myself to you. I'm not comparing myself to, a land investor that's been in this for 5 years either. I'm comparing myself to who I was a couple days ago, a week ago, if I can continue. Of course, there's balance with everything because you're going to have off days, but if you can shrug them off, it's fine. There's always going to be deals that fall through, especially in the beginning when, you need this deal to be successful or, you need the seller to sign. You can't have the mindset that you cannot be too high when things get good, and you cannot be too despondent when things get down. If you're staying in the middle, that's something my grandfather would tell me all the time. If you're able to stay within that little range when stuff hits the fan or when things are going really well, you're going to continue to grow.
Is that your same mindset? Like I assume it is outside of business with health or whatever it is. A lot of people take working out the same way that they take business, like full on. Like Aaron from last week
Yeah.
needs to be beat this week, or in the gym or whatever it is. That same mentality wherever you go.
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's really important to in every area of life. For example, my father and grandfather. My grandfather passed away, I think 6 months ago. He was a very successful businessman, and he worked with my dad and my great uncle. It was a very big business, and they very strongly implemented into my family the importance of balance, community, health, God, etc. And every, I would say, I think they were very, for example, he was very big into the community. And he would always teach us, and my father would always teach us um, the importance of 10% at least. This is also, more of a religious thing, but 10% of revenue goes towards charity
Hmm.
versus 10% of profit. So, for even at the beginning, 10% is a lot of money when you need to put it back into marketing. And but I kept to it 10%, 10%, and I know that's something that Mayor Shemtov also does, and I think it's really nice to give back. I know that he has a big team, so people on his team are also able to choose which charity they want to donate to, and I think that's something that's really important too because we're not here just for ourselves. We have to remember the purpose of all this, why we want to have our own business, why we want to give back. It's not just the money because one day we're going to be gone, and then it's just going to be it.
That's awesome. And sorry about the loss of your grandfather.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it seems like your family has. I mean, you said six siblings, or you are the sixth.
Youngest of six. There's four boys, including me, and two girls.
Yeah, it sounds like your family obviously has a huge impact on like molding you, which is very normal, obviously. But
Yeah.
you've actually like some people like you hear lessons from your dad, from your grandfather, from your brothers, older brothers, sisters, and they don't like carry on like it's. But you're like you take it very seriously in terms of the lessons and actually take action based on those, and that's how you've that's how you are who you are essentially.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything in your child, anything that is it just like them being very involved, like them, it just constant values in your family? Was that kind of what shaped you?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I would say basketball helped shape me as well.
Hmm.
Uh, the losing certain games that you think about even now. I know you're a basketball guy too. There are certain games that you think about for the rest of your life. And I definitely think about those things, and I think about the pressure of it and the preparation of it, and how I forgot what it is. Preparation meets. I think like Tom Brady talks about preparation meeting the moment,
Hmm.
stuff like that. And I think that's I don't know. I think about that stuff. I think a lot of that shaped who I am, and yeah, mostly I would say family.
What's your long term like vision with land investing? Not necessarily in terms of what's your business, but like what it can provide you in terms of freedoms, maybe building a family of your own. Like
Yeah.
what is land? Like what does the vehicle land do for you in your life?
Well, you said it perfectly. Any business is a vehicle to a destination. So for me, I want to get. I have a goal for the land business, and I want to get it to a certain number per year, and I want to automate and delegate myself out of it. And I've started working within, or very recently. I shouldn't even say adding it yet, but adding entitlements to the business. Working my oldest brother, he builds Airbnbs in the Smoky Mountains. Very cool business that he has going on. Look him up on Instagram, guys. Aaron Waxman. It's very, very cool business. He documents his whole journey. So I think development is something I think about a lot, but very premature stuff. I'm always looking in. I'm always purchasing new courses, um, and I know that that's a risky topic for a lot of people. But right now we're in the age of the internet, and there's so many courses, so many bad courses. But if you're able to find the ones that provide value, the it's really worth it in my opinion.
Hmm. It's a better investment than college, and you didn't finish college. So
We can talk about that for hours.
exactly, and it's yeah. I mean, the money you're putting into whatever online education, and I'm not trying to have a sales pitch, but it's just real investing in yourself. Like, there's a reason you're 25 years old, doing what you're doing, and as successful as you are, and like have such a high upside future.
Ever wondered how land investing can be the fastest path to financial freedom? I break it all down in my new book, One Lot at a Time. I'll show you exactly how to find, buy, and flip land for huge profits without dealing with houses, tenants, or any crazy renovations. It's simple. This is the book that I wish I had when I first started. If you're ready to take control of your financial future, grab a copy now. One Lot at a Time by Daniel Apke. Find it at your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
What are so your this is your no, I guess last year was your first
Yeah.
full year in land. Are you right now in your business targeting? You said entitlements is starting to be a part of your business. I know
Yeah.
you have a lot going on. Actually, first talk about, did you ever do texting? I know you did direct mail. I know you just started cold calling, which I know you don't have a lot of results, so we don't have to talk in detail about that.
Yeah.
But did you ever do texting, or what are your thoughts on texting as a marketing avenue?
So I was very heavily thinking about texting, but there's so much regulation around it, and it's only getting worse. And I know people who have gotten sued for it, and it's for me at the point where I was at. I didn't want to start with the possibility of getting sued, which I know is very, very low. I know a lot of
Hmm.
people have a lot of success with that. Also, you can get a separate LLC. I know there's lots of workarounds. I haven't gone into it. I know a lot about the little nuances involved with texting, like the A2P regulation, um, the specific words you have to use, the opt-out messages. I just sort of the way it worked out was mailing and cold calling, and I know that each person has a different way of going about it, and I think that's also important if someone's listening to this and they're thinking about targeting specific markets or targeting. I would say if you're not brand new, but you've been in it for a couple of months and you've had some success and you're still trying to find your markets, you're trying to find your niche, I would say that there is always going to be noise within an industry, and people are going to there's going to be noise towards this market or that market and this way of reaching out to potential clients. I think if you play your game correctly, you're going to continue to grow. And that's something that I've focused on. It's the same thing as like being a point guard. You play your game. You're not trying to play somebody else's game because you're just not that person. So that's something that's helped me a great deal.
I like that a lot. That makes sense. So are you going back to like the niches? Are
Yeah.
you targeting subdivides? Are you doing anything? Are you still just doing traditional
Yeah.
buy and flips? I know, like,
Yes.
what does your business deal type look like?
Yeah, so we're doing both. Right now I'm focused a lot on subdivides. So we're buying one. It was supposed to be today, but because of the survey company and the per company not being on the same schedule, we're closing next week. But
Hmm.
buying like 33 acres, subdividing into eight. We got seven perk tests for each eight lots. Um, so stuff like that is I love deals like that. I think subdivides are my favorite ones for sure. I've done a bunch of those at this point, and yeah, I would say doing subdivides, general flips, and now adding entitlements and stuff like that. Now, I think it's important. Like for example, we sell to all different types of people. You sell to people who are looking to build a home or getaway home, people who are looking to build an Airbnb, a development, an apartment building, hunters, farmers. There's all sorts of people who are buying our land. So what I'm looking to do is go to that person's mindset. Why would a buyer why would a builder or a farmer or a hunter want to buy this piece of land? And not just thinking why would they buy this piece of land. Think about the specific things that go within their due diligence period that would make them buy it, and that's definitely helped me as well.
So just working backwards, that makes that's definitely going to help you offload deals faster too if like you understand. And I always say that like understanding your buyer pool before you buy a piece of land. Like if you're looking at a piece of land, like who the hell would buy this? There's probably not many people that would buy this piece of land. So definitely thinking about that. As far as the entitling stuff, is that something you ran into? Is that something you're like were trying to go after? Because you said you have one entitlement deal actively that you're working on.
Yeah, I think the rational way of thinking, especially if you're working in land, is ground up. And ground up means purchase land. If you don't know what entitlement is, it's entitling it, obviously, for potential development. And again, I'm very new to this part, so I wouldn't I wouldn't write any notes down. But yeah, that's sort of my way of thinking because I watch a lot of Ken McElroy. I don't know if you know who that is.
Hmm.
I watch a lot of Ben Mala, people like that who are seasoned in this game, and they're obviously on the much larger scale of the real estate business. And I think a long term goal is to get into that. And I think, like I said, the rational way of thinking is ground up, land entitlement, shovel ready, build.
Yep.
So
I mean, and that just goes back to like you being willing to grow. And like some people start making money somewhere and they're like, yeah, I'm just going to keep doing this forever, not make adjustments. And like there's always a bigger deal. Like like there is always a next level to everything.
yeah,
Like you talk about those guys and then there's someone above those guys. There's always something you can grow. There's always the next deal, a bigger deal. And I think that goes right in hand with kind of your mindset of growth. What, so you've been in this business almost 2 years, or I guess a year and a half, 18 months. You've seen a lot of things in terms of wholesaling. You've been from that. Like, who is this business for? Like, what advice do you have for someone looking to get into this? Because you obviously, some people come and hit it like, and there's like no doubt, like this business is for Aaron Waxman. Then there's other people like maybe they're making a mistake, maybe they're not, and then there's people like you have no business being around this business just because mindset you're just not ready to take that step. Who do you think this business is for?
someone who has the ability to accept delayed gratification and someone who's willing to make a ton of mistakes and learn from those mistakes and not be immature about it because there's going to be a lot of mistakes. You're going to buy a bad deal, you're going to lose money on it, and you need to be able to see the vision of the business within it. I think it's the same thing with anything, honestly. It's the
Yeah,
same with it.
it sounded like you're explaining an entrepreneur, honestly, with that. Like, it doesn't matter what business you're starting. You got to be willing to make mistakes. You got to be okay with like you said, it's a roller coaster thing. Being able to stay in the middle, I think, as your grandfather said, I think that's a really good advice. Like trying to not get too emotional about highs. Like you have $100,000 profit deal, something bad's going to happen the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So not
exactly.
getting too high about the highs, not getting too low about the lows. What are your thoughts as like the land investing market as a whole? Like, do you think, or what's the next 3 to 5 years look of land flipping, land investing?
I think we're probably going to see a lot of people who join the business because there's a lot of educational programs. I think there's a lot of people who are looking to get rich quick. I think there is the market always changes, and it also depends on the specific area that you're targeting. There are
Mhm.
specific states where your feasibility or due diligence period are going to be different. So depending on the areas you target, it's going to be different. I think if you're in the southeast, if you're on the west coast, if you're um, in like Florida, each area has you're playing a different game. So I think that within the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to have people who are going to leave the business. I think you're going to continue having people who join the business, and there's always just it's going to be the same thing. It's like uh, pouring pasta into one of those things, and the water comes out. You know, the people who are here to stay are going to stay, and the people who are not are they're going to fizzle out. It's the same thing.
Hmm. And that's why people like you, like you're not scared of sharing knowledge, or like it's just you're going to keep growing with the business and make adjustments as the business makes adjustments. Is there anything you're like worried, or do you think about like the economy when you're doing this business? Do you think about outside things? Does that have any effect on how you do the business?
Well, I look at where people. This is something that I did more so before um, I knew as much about markets, and now I already know a lot of this. It's good to look where people are moving. Um, People are leaving California. Where are they going? People are leaving New York. Where are they going? Obviously, now I think it's changed a little bit with COVID being in the past. But obviously, there's politics involved in people moving as well. But just looking at charts, looking at accurate data about where people are moving has helped me also choose the right markets. Um, I would say that's really it.
Do you look for markets specifically where you can turn land relatively fast? Are you looking for, I don't want to say hot markets, but like warmer?
Not really. I think, well, I might be shooting myself in the leg here, but I think a lot there's so, like I said, there's so much noise in every industry. And in our industry there's a lot of target these specific parameters. But if you're telling someone to target these specific parameters, that someone who's watching that video is going to target those specific parameters. So everyone is going to target those areas. I think, like I said, playing your game, you know where you've had success, or um, good markets. I think it's good to target areas where the land is going to move quickly. But also, if you know how to price your area correctly, and you have people on the ground, that helps a great deal as well.
Yep. And you can do this business. We always say like you can do this business anywhere. Like, are there areas that I like more? Absolutely, but you can absolutely do this business anywhere. And a lot of it comes down to if you're in a slower area, buy cheaper. Like you just got to buy cheaper to have a margin in the deal.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Like I have land on the West Coast, I have land on the East Coast. There's
yep,
like it's totally different,
yep.
completely different people who you're targeting. And
Hmm.
I wish I had known that a year ago or a year and a half ago. But once you lose a little bit of money on specific deals, you're like, oh, like it's a little bit of a different game depending on where you are.
Any crazy stories you talked about? You just said you lost money. Did you lose money on a deal?
Yeah.
Hot.
So I
Sorry to bring it up, but let's talk
no,
about
no, I think
it.
it's good. It's good. It taught me a very valuable lesson.
Yeah.
So the way that I buy my deals is different from most other people. Dennis Yasko taught me this, so this was huge. I mean, he taught me pretty much, the vast majority of the business, but I would say this was huge as well, where a lot of people have JV partners where the JV partner will come in and they'll fund the deal. For us, we would raise the money or continue to raise the money with people who have money, and we'll give them a percentage, and we will take title, and we'll have a promissory note, or I don't know exactly how you're supposed to say it, but you have a prom note
Hmm.
that pretty much states the interest that the person's going to make. And on this specific deal, it was in the Southeast, and the numbers. My agent was like, "I'm telling you, man, like, look at this one, look at this one." And for me, I closed on like I don't know 3 or 4 deals or something at that point. Like it was early on, and I was like, for me, I was just so hungry for a deal
Hmm.
that I was like, "Let's do it. Let's buy the deal." And Dennis told me, "Don't buy this deal. Do not buy this deal. The numbers are not there." And I said, the numbers are there. The numbers are there. So it was a buy for 70. I think we listed it for like 155. Okay, no love. And I'm like, crap, this is really bad. And this is at the point where you're reinvesting so much that you can't afford to lose money on it. And a couple months go by, still no love, price reduction, price reduction. So I fire my agent, okay? And then I find another agent who had a very similar piece of land just like a mile away. Very similar. And they're listed at like 190. They had like 100 saves, and like it's been like a couple of days. And I'm thinking, it's got to be the agent, right? Like he
Yeah.
told me that the property's going to move. And I hire this other agent, and she's like, "Yeah, you should actually list it at 165. Like, what are you doing? It's on the wrong MLS." So I'm thinking in my head, okay, cool, let's do it. So we list it, and nothing, crickets. And I'm thinking, oh crap, this is really bad. This is like really bad. And during that, I think this was on the market for a year. I think it was literally on the market for a year. It was like really bad. And I actually had a property a couple miles away. Actually, oh, I would say this. The property that was doing really bad is in an HOA. The restrictions were no farm animals in an area where everyone has farm animals. In my little area, you can't have a farm animal. So everyone who's come by, they're like, okay, we're going to bring our horses, we're going to bring our chickens, everything like that. And we're like, oh, wait, actually, you can't have it. And this was causing a ton of problems, and nobody actually bought the property. And I hired a third agent who sold another property in the area for us, and we sold it. I think I had to bring like 10,000 to the table to pay off the lender.
Wow.
And yeah, it was painful, but it's all good. It's take it with a grain of salt. Learn from it,
Yeah.
brush
So
it
what
off, go to the next
what
one.
did you know going into that? Like, did you know about the farm animals thing? Was that a thing you learned a year down the
I
road?
didn't know the importance of reading the HOA documents
Hmm. And
because
was it an empty HOA or were the houses everywhere?
it was pretty empty.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I was thinking like, it's not gonna cause any problems, but it turns out literally exactly the people that I was targeting aren't able to buy it. So somebody ended up buying it to put like an Airbnb on it or something like that. And I think we sold, I don't know. We sold it for 90 something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's after a certain amount of time. It's after a year. The interest for the lender is a certain amount, and and I have to obviously pay the agent. She finally got the thing sold. So
Yep.
it's honestly a blessing that I didn't lose 50 grand on it.
So you got some advice on that before, like to not buy it. You got realtor advice, like, yeah, you got to buy this.
Yeah.
So going for like, how do you make adjustments going forward from something like that? Is it just like trust agents less? What does that look like? What was your initial opinion on the deal
Okay,
before
my
any
initial opinion
agent,
on the
any outs?
deal
Yeah.
was I just want I just want a deal. Which is, if you're listening to this, don't ever be like that
Yeah.
guy. Don't be that guy ever.
Dangerous spot.
Oh my God. It's terrible. It's so dumb. And I wanted the deal so badly. I think I ran comps one time on it. And I also looked at the comps that he sent me and I was like, the numbers are there. I don't know what this guy's talking about. And the numbers were clearly not there. But I would say if you're doing in-house dispo, that's a separate thing. But if you're listening to this, the importance of having good people, like a good agent, a good a good attorney, a good title company is so important. I cannot stress this enough because they can really really screw you. When I first got in the business, there was somebody who I think I had a piece of property. It was like it was very strangely shaped, and the agent told me that we can sell this thing for 200,000, and she sent me 50 comps, and I was like, okay, I'm new to this. Even I know this is weird. And then I finally found a good agent, and they're like, you can list this for 90. What is this lady talking about? And had I listened to her, it would have been a really bad thing.
Hmm. Yeah, there's agents out there. I mean, they're just people that don't know land, and it's a completely different thing than houses. When there's a neighbor that sold 2 days ago,
Yeah.
there's a house 7 doors down that sold a month ago. Like it's easy to comp houses, but where you have an HOA and there's a restrictive HOA, and you're trying to get comps outside of that HOA, like that's the biggest lesson from that. Like you have an empty HOA, why the hell is that empty? Because no one wants to go there.
Yeah.
So those are some of the hardest properties to comp. Anything else you wanted to touch on? I do want to think that, I mean, you have an unbelievable story for only being 18 months in. I'm pumped to see where you go in this
Thanks.
business. Anything else you wanted to touch on though, Aaron?
Sure, yeah. I would say there's a few things that so while I was learning and growing in the beginning phases of the business, I would say I'm still in the beginning phases, but I I'm a big systems guy, huge systems guy, and I joined a automation community, not like one of these like AI automation crap, just trying to make money off of you, but like
Mm-hmm.
one of these actual communities where they teach you actual business uh, mindsets and automations and systems and et cetera, et cetera. And it was based in Airtable, which is obviously what you guys gave your students in the beginning of I think last year or so. And I studied the hell out of it. I took that and took that Airtable and I turned it into like the most custom thing you'll literally ever see.
Hmm.
Like automated KPIs, everything is so when you I think for me the business is so lean. And when I was wholesaling, I had 8 people on my team. And
Wow.
that was just it's unnecessary. I think people think that or I shouldn't say people. Younger me thought that when you have more people on your team, that means that you're doing better, but it really doesn't. You can have a lean team and be doing a lot better than people who have a lot. So, um, what I was taught was think of every single thing in your business in this framework. Can I automate it? Can I delegate it? Or can I delete it? Meaning specific tasks, right? Like, let's say I'll give you one that I've automated. Sending a title initiation email. Okay. Oh my God, I'm getting spam called. So you have to think, can I automate this task? Can I delegate it to somebody else? Or can I delete this without consequence? And my
Hmm.
business will continue to grow. So I've automated pretty much, I mean, the smallest 5 minute tasks to the point where now I've automated hours of the business that would normally take manually a lot of time. So, sending title initiation emails, or requesting a perk test or a survey test, or following up with sellers, saving certain data into the CRM. What else is there? I've automated selling or automated sending specific details to an agent in a different market. So like before, you have to copy paste the parcel number and the situation, and you have to send them a picture, and you'd be like, oh, can you send me a CMA on this? And they're
Hmm.
like, that takes, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you're kind of like
Yeah.
half doing the job. So now on my system, all I have to do is I have to click the checkbox and the person's email, and that's literally it. It sends them the information. And things like that, if you think about the business and can I automate, can I delegate, or can I delete this without consequence, that has been major for me. And now I just have a team of three. It's me, my wife, and somebody else, and it's been growing. And I don't we're not choking yet.
Yep. That's a good point. More people does not mean you're making more money. Like it might sound good, like I have 7 employees, but if you're not making more money, like at the end of the day, use the systems. There's so much technology nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, Aaron, we definitely have to do a part two here. Like this is amazing. The information, the knowledge that you brought to
Thank
the community. If you guys have any comments, anything else you want Aaron to answer, feel free to put it in the YouTube comments below. Other than that, Aaron, thank you so much. Hit the subscribe button below. We'll see you guys next time.